So today I'm going to be doing my November-December wrap-up. It's been a long time coming because I didn't get to film my wrap-up last month for November. So there's going to be a lot of books in this wrap-up. I love watching wrap-ups. The only thing I don't like about doing wrap-ups is that I can't remember everything, like every little detail about every little book I read. Maybe because I read too fast when I do read. I don't know, so please don't be mad if I can't go into super detail about these, but maybe I will try midway wrap-ups or maybe a vlog style thing so I can or maybe I should journal and keep track of my thoughts as I read. I've been meaning to do something like that so that I can keep all my thoughts in one place and not forget all my thoughts. In total, I read 22 books between November and December. In November, I think it was that I read 15. I think. I don't know. You're gonna see. But the first book I read in November was a book for my in-person book club that I started in my neighborhood, and it was the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. Everyone came over and we watched the movie, which was really fun. I just remember it being about this lady. She's a writer and she comes across this letter from this guy from this island. They start writing back and forth and kind of form a friendship, and then she goes and visits. I enjoyed it, but I don't know. I think I like the movie better. I ended up giving this, I think, 3.5 stars. I felt like the ending was really rushed. All of a sudden, it all got wrapped up super quickly. And I was just like, that's the end. There better be a sequel, but there's not. The next book I read was Stephen King's Dr. Sleep. And this might actually be my favorite Stephen King book thus far. I think this is... I don't know, I think I've read 8 Stephen King books so far. This is definitely the most fast-paced one out of all of the ones I've read. All the other ones were like roller coasters. They were super slow, you want to DNF them, and then kind of going up the roller coaster you were like, oh my gosh, I can't stop reading. But this one, you couldn't stop reading the whole time. So this one is the sequel to The Shining, and it takes place when Dan Torrance, he was a kid back in The Shining, but now he's an adult. So The Shining is this special ability that some people have, and he meets this girl Abra. I think she's 12. Is she 12? I don't remember. It doesn't say. Oh yeah, she is 12. And she has The Shining too. And so the True Knot, which is a group of people, they're really crazy and scary. They feed off of children that have The Shining. They feed off of that. So they're trying to find Abra because they sense that she's powerful and stuff. They kind of team up against the True Knot, and it was really good. I gave this a 4.5. I think it was the ending that kind of dragged a little. I think it was the ending. Something dragged a little bit. If you want a fast-paced Stephen King book, this is definitely it. I really don't think you have to read The Shining to read this. It's almost like you and your best friend having an inside joke together, and then you hang out with a third friend that hasn't been hanging out with you for a while, so they don't know the inside jokes, but you still have a good time, together. So this is kind of like that. There's gonna be little things that kind of put things together from The Shining, but really, all in all, I feel like you could read this as a standalone. And yeah, I really recommend it. And if you've read it, let me know. Let's talk about it, because I feel like not a lot of people have read it. The next book I read was Tales from the Secret Annex by Anne Frank, and this was really good. Super underrated. I haven't seen anyone on BookTube read it ever, I think. I found it because I went to the Anne Frank house back in January, and they had this there, and I didn't even know it existed, honestly, because this one is the short stories and essays that kind of went unpublished, and they were not in her diary. It's really nice to see more from Anne Frank, and I really enjoyed it, especially because I got to go there. I kind of felt like, I don't know, it brought me back, got me a little emotional, and I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. Next, I read a graphic novel called, let me see, Something is Killing the Children, which I will put a picture of it here. The cover really drew me in. I participated in this graphic-a-thon thing and just picked this up because it was available at my library, and it's about these children that go missing and don't come back, and there's these creatures that are, I think, going after these children. I don't know, it was really short and it was only 30 pages, so I'm not really getting what the story is going to be about. So I ended up giving it, I think, 3.5 stars, I think it was. And I think I'll continue to see what happens. The next book I read was A Very Large Expanse of the Sea by Tahira Mafi, which I'll put over here. I kind of was intrigued by this one because of the synopsis. It takes place post 9/11, and it's about this girl in high school, and she is Muslim and being like really stereotyped at her school. And she meets this guy, of course, he's a white guy, and it's almost like they can't be together, and it's hard for them to be together at this school. So I listened to this completely on audio, and I felt like the audiobook was really good. I used to not listen to audiobooks, like I think I've mentioned before, but YA books are just so easy, I realize, to listen on audiobooks. So now I'm diving into like more YA books on audio when I like walk the dogs and stuff. So this is definitely a good one to pick up if you're not really into YA, but you want something to listen to while you do stuff around the house or you walk your dogs, I don't know. It ended up being like a really cute story, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Next, I read Royal City by Jeff Lemire. He wrote one of my favorite graphic novels of all time, which was Trillium. Definitely pick up Trillium if you haven't read it before. One of the best graphic novels I've ever read. So because he wrote that, I thought I would read more by him. So I picked up Royal City Volume 1, Next of Kin, and I don't know, it ended up being 3 volumes. So I read Volume 1, I read Volume 2, and Volume 3. I don't know, it was just like a family drama about, I don't even know if I can say because I feel like that's the spoiler that doesn't really come up until later. But it's just, if you want to read a family drama in a graphic novel form, I think you will like this one. I think I ended up giving it like 3.5 stars. It wasn't what I expected, but I still had fun with it. I wouldn't say I like really enjoyed it, but yeah. So next I read Ghosts of the Tsunami, and I think it was in October in my wrap up that I had People Who Eat Darkness by the same author, which I will be moving to my guest bedroom because instead of unhauling it, like I move books I don't like into the guest bedroom, but we don't really get readers in the guest bedroom, so I actually might start like donating them to the library again. But anyways, this I definitely recommend compared to People Who Eat Darkness. Even though I really love true crime and People Who Eat Darkness was a true crime book, this one was so much better. So this book is about the tsunami in Japan, and Richard Lloyd Perry spent 6 years, which I totally forgot, researching and living, I think, in Japan, like researching for this book, and I thought that was really cool. And he also goes over the earthquake in this book. I'm like looking at the back because I forgot, but yeah, it was really good, and it was a really quick read, really sad. I learned stuff that I didn't know happened, and yeah, I gave this 4 stars. Next, I read Why the Last Man Volume 2. It was a long time coming because I read Volume 1 back in 2016 or 17, I think. It was a long time ago. So I picked up Volume 2 and I really enjoyed it. I will definitely be continuing with the series. This one is about this guy, and he's like the last man on earth with his monkey. And yeah, some people are trying to hunt him down, and some people are trying to use him for research to find out like why all the other men have disappeared. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars. So the next graphic novel I read was Outcast Volume 4, and this is kind of like, I don't really know how to explain this one. This one is by the same guy, what was his name? Robert Kirkman, that wrote The Walking Dead. And there's kind of like this, not a spirit, but some kind of like force that goes inside you and you turn like crazy and evil, something like that. I don't know, but it's decent. I think I gave it 3.5. And then I read The Nickel Boys, which I had been seeing a lot of all over BookTube and all over Goodreads and Instagram, and I enjoyed that one too. I listened to it on audiobook. So this one is about these 2 boys who are sent to this reform school like during the Jim Crow era in Florida, and I heard that this was based on a true story as well, and that was just kind of upsetting. Like, it's really messed up. It kind of reminded me when they just took all these indigenous children in Canada from their homes and sent them to residential schools. The abuse that the boys go through kind of reminded me of that, like what they have to go through. I can't believe that this stuff actually happened in real life. I still like cannot believe that the Holocaust happened. Like, I still think about that all the time. Like, that stuff just really like is so crazy to me and so sad. I recommend reading that one if you're into that kind of stuff. And I ended up giving it 4 stars. I thought it was a little rushed at the end, and I wish it was longer. I felt like it was really short, and I hope we get a movie at some point. So the next one I read was The Knicks. And this has been on my shelf for a really long time. Let me just say that if you liked The Goldfinch, even though I struggled with the end, I still liked it. You will like this one. If you didn't like The Goldfinch, you might not like this one. I felt like they were like similar, kind of like similar tastes. Like, if you like this, you'll like this. But I will say that I think I liked The Knicks better than The Goldfinch, so I don't know if that'll help you out. So this one is about this guy Samuel, and he hasn't seen his mom in years, and he finally sees her on the news. And yeah, it's kind of, this whole thing, it's kind of like flashes back between his childhood and present day. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't remember if what I would say would be a spoiler, probably. But I gave this, I think, 4.5 stars out of 5, or 4 stars out of 5. The ending dragged a little, just like The Goldfinch, I feel like. So I struggled a little with the ending, but everything else was like a fast-paced read for me. There's some like explicit stuff in here and weird stuff in here. So yeah, if you're not into that, you definitely might DNF it in the beginning. But I enjoyed it, and it's definitely one of those books that you'll either love or hate. Next, I listened to Another Brooklyn, and I'll put it here. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, which I've really been liking, because when I used to walk my dogs, I used to listen to exclusively true crime podcasts. But then I was thinking I could be reading more books. So I think that's why I'll be able to get to my goal this year, which I'll talk about in another video. So this one is about August and her friends living in Brooklyn, and I don't know, I felt like it was so short that I couldn't get into the story. I just wish it was longer. I really wish it was longer because I really like the writing. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I will definitely be reading more by this author because I know my friend Keisha, which I will link below, really loves this author, so I will definitely check out her other books. Next, I read one of my, I guess, spoiler alert, favorite books of 2019, and it was Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I guess I won't say much about this because I'll be talking about it in a future video, my favorite books of 2019, so look out for that video. But I ended up giving this 4.5 stars, and I really loved it, and I keep debating whether I should bump it up to 5 stars because I loved it so much, and I just flew through this. Such a quick paced read. If you like Stephen King but you think his books drag on, you will have to check out Nosferatu because this is a really fast paced read. It's like the horror genre, and yeah, I'll go into this more in another video. So now we're in December. These are the books I read in December, and the first one was The Perfect Predator, a scientist race to save her husband from a deadly superbug. And this was recommended by Carla, and I'll link her channel down below. I really like her videos. I hope she makes new videos soon this year, but she recommended this in one of her videos, and I immediately bought it. And I loved it so much. It's a memoir, nonfiction, but if you're looking into getting into more nonfiction, this is definitely like something that you might want to try out. So this is about the authors, Stephanie and Thomas. They go to Egypt, and he catches this like deadly superbug, and they can't figure out how to cure him. So Stephanie is an epidemiologist, and then her husband is like a psychologist and a biologist, I think it was. But they both work at UCSD, and I don't know. I thought that was really cool because it's really close by. And yeah, I don't want to say how he's obviously still alive because they wrote the book, but I don't want to say like how he got cured or anything because it'd be a spoiler. But definitely like an honorable mention, like one of my second favorites of the year. So definitely check this out. I gave it, I think, 4.5 stars. The next one I read was With the Fire on High, and I actually listened to this on audiobook yet again. This one I had been seeing all over. I didn't want to go buy it or I really don't like spending my money on YA because most of the time they kind of let me down, but I guess I've been having luck lately because I've been giving YA books 4 stars lately. This one is about this girl Imani, and she has a baby and she lives with her grandma. She has a lot of responsibilities and she has a job and she goes to high school still, so she has a lot on her plate. But she ends up taking this cooking class at her high school, and there's this opportunity that comes up, which I guess I kind of don't want to say what it is because it's not in the beginning of the book. And yeah, she wants to do this, but she doesn't know if she'll be able to. I like that it kind of mixes cooking into the book. So that was really cool, and I like the Spanish parts in here because there's some Spanish speaking parts in here, and I don't know, it kind of like made me laugh and stuff. So I ended up enjoying this one and I gave it 4 stars, and I can't wait to check out Poet X, which I will definitely check out on audiobook. We're almost done here. The next one I read was Marlena. This one I had my eye on for the longest time, but I just got it on Book Outlet, I think 2 months ago or 1 month ago. I don't remember, but my library doesn't have it, so I decided to get it. So this is about this girl named Kat. She befriends the girl next door, and her name is Marlena, and Marlena is toxic. She does all these drugs. She's just like a little crazy. So Marlena ends up dead in the woods, and it kind of flashes back to their childhood and when they first met and back to the present. And it reminded me of this book that I read. I think I gave it 3 stars too. Sweet Bitter. It kind of reminded me of that, and I didn't really like love that book, but I like the writing in this better. This book dragged in some parts just like that book, but I still liked it enough that I will be keeping it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, and I will definitely check out more by this author because it was a pretty good book. And then I read Frankly in Love, and this is, I guess, I don't know, like a lot of people in the booktube community are hating this book, but I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I actually don't like a lot of YA, so that's already rare for me. But the reason I gave it 4 stars, well, let me tell you what it's about first. So this is about this boy in high school. His name is Frank Lee, and he really wants to date this girl. She's white. They end up dating in high school, but his parents want him to date a Korean girl. There's like a stereotypical YA like trope in this book that a lot of people didn't like, and I usually don't like that either, like the love triangle thing. Okay, I don't know if that's a spoiler, but the love triangle thing, I think it's kind of obvious going into the book, but I don't know. But the love triangle thing is just like, to me, is something I don't like. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate it in real life. I hate it in books. But it happens. Like, we just gotta accept that it happens, you know? So we can't really be mad about it. It definitely happens in high school, I feel like, because girls and boys change their minds all the time. Like, it's not like they're married, which I really dislike, like cheating in a marriage. I definitely feel like I wouldn't like that. But since this is YA, it's high school. Like, people date for a month, they're like, oh my god, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and then the next month they're moving on to somebody else, or they're like find somebody while they're in the relationship. That's definitely not me, but I get it. It's high school. I understand like that happens in real life, so I'm not gonna like take away stars or dislike it more because of that, even though I really hate cheating and hate love triangles. I just get that it happens. One of the other things I really liked about this book is that it covered different issues that aren't usually covered in YA, and just me like not growing up white, obviously, like I could relate to some of these things growing up, kind of. I don't know, just being like the odd one out, like based on how you look and being different. I think it would be relatable to a lot of people. The problem I had with this book was that the relationship formed way too quickly. It was like insta love, but I think the one thing that people don't understand, or insta love seems like it's like this magical thing that never happens, but it happens. It happens in real life, especially when we're younger. So I feel like it happens, so we can't be mad about that either, especially with high schoolers. I feel like that's like the most thoughts I've remembered from any of these books I read. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I will read more by David Yoon, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. This next book was probably one of my disappointing reads for 2019, and it's The Unpassing. I got this for my birthday, I think it was, from my husband. I was really excited to read this, especially because my library didn't have it, and because it takes place in Alaska. It's about this Taiwanese family that immigrates to Alaska. Just hooked me, and I just wanted to read it because Alaska. So I thought it was going to be like a survival book. It ended up being more about family struggles because it says in the synopsis, so it's not a spoiler, but one of the siblings catches meningitis and dies. So it's kind of like them struggling through that, and the writing is really, really beautiful, but maybe I just wasn't in the mood for this at the time. I will definitely be keeping this and reading it again because I feel like I will really love it the next time I read it, that I'm in the mood for it. But I ended up giving this 3 stars. The next book I read is The Humans by Matt Haig. So this one is about this alien that comes to Earth because like the aliens find out that this mathematician has solved this like crazy mathematical equation that no one's ever solved before that could like change life as it is on Earth. The alien is sent to basically infiltrate the mathematician's like body and brain. So it was really, really interesting, and I feel like I had never read anything like this before. Some people might not like the writing style, like the way it was written. I feel like some people might not like that. But I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I will definitely read more by this author. So I wanted to end the year with an even number of books read because I had only read 71 and I wanted to make it 72. So on New Year's Eve, I read Runaway Max, and it's really short. They made a YA book about Eleven's mom, and I thought it was fun. Like, if you love Stranger Things, like if you're a huge fan no matter what, you will love these little books that they've made. So this one is about Max, and you kind of find out a little bit more about her, but I will say, warning, most of this book is season 2, like almost scene per scene, like word for word. So this is definitely like season 2 in a book, but with little added things that the author like made up. I wish it was more of the author making up a story instead of something like repetitive that we've already seen on the show, but there were some new things in here. And even though this is YA, like Billy is just as bad in this book as he is in the show, even though it's YA. So that really surprised me because I thought this was supposed to be YA, you know. I wouldn't let my little kid read this. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy this when I was reading the reviews on Goodreads, but I feel like I somewhat can relate to Max. Like, not the bad stuff that she's been through or any of that, but the way that she like loves skateboarding, and I don't know, she's kind of like tomboyish. Like, I was like that when I was younger. So all I would do in like middle school is go skateboarding with all my guy friends and go to the skate park all the time. I like lived and breathed skateboarding. I was like skate or die, like that type of person. This kind of stuff just like brings me back to those memories, and I don't know, those were like really, really, really great times for me. I loved skateboarding. I still think about skateboarding all the time, but I feel like I don't want to be at the hospital all the time, and my husband does not want to deal with it, because I was just mentioning when I finished this book, like, oh my gosh, I really want to skateboard again, and he was like, no, you're gonna get hurt. And I'm like, yeah, I did get hurt a lot when I skateboarded. So if you love Stranger Things, you will love this. If you don't mind that it's gonna be repetitive of season 2, and it's just gonna take you back there but not really have new content, then yeah, you'll enjoy this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. That is it. That was my wrap up for November and December. I'm not going to be doing a January TBR because I don't know how I feel this month. I don't know how I want to start the year. I don't know what I want to read. I don't know how I feel right now. I'm currently reading Dominicana by Angie, I don't remember, but yeah, I was feeling like reading that book, but I don't know what else I'm feeling like reading. I'm gonna have to look on my shelves and see. And I've also gotten a lot of new books, so you'll see that in a haul soon too. So look out for my favorite books of 2019. In that video, I think I'll be making like a joint video and doing like my favorites and worst books of 2019, and also look out for like 2 book hauls because I have a lot of books to show you. But I am doing Project 50 this year, so I'll talk about that in another video too. If you've read any of these, or if you're interested in any of these, let me know. Let's talk in the comments down below. I will see everyone in the next video.